A violent wind tore across the sleeping kingdom as thunder cracked above the darkened skies. Prince Aric gripped the balcony rail of the castle tower, his breath heavy with unease. The heavens glowed with a streak of fire, a star descending faster than any eye could follow. Master Eldrin whispered, "The omen has come, the curse awakens." The star collided with the distant forest, shaking the earth, sending tremors through the stone walls. Aric's heart pounded as if bound to the fallen star's fate. In the shadows of the hall, Malric watched with a calculating gaze, lips curving in a hidden smile. Below, Rowan clutched his sword, though fear trembled in his hands. From the eastern ridge, Lysandra gasped as the cursed light spread across the horizon, her eyes filled with dread and wonder. The first toll of the midnight bell echoed, sealing destiny's call. Aric descended from the tower, his steps echoing against the stone corridors. Rowan rushed to his side, saying, "The forest burns, my prince. The omen is real." Aric's jaw tightened as Eldrin appeared in the shadows, eyes heavy with grim resolve. "The curse has awakened," Eldrin murmured, "and only blood tied to the star may stand against it." Malric stepped forward, voice smooth and calm, "We must claim its power before darkness consumes us." Aric recoiled, uncertain of the truth hidden within Malric's words. In the courtyard below, the gods scrambled in panic as bells thundered through the night. Far beyond the walls, Lysandra tightened her cloak, her gaze fixed on the cursed forest, whispering to herself, "This will change everything." The villagers gathered outside the castle walls, eyes wide with fear, as the cursed light spread across the night. Mothers clutched children, while men whispered of ancient prophecies. Aric strode into the courtyard, the flames from the forest visible in the distance. Eldrin raised his staff, voice cutting through the chaos, "The kingdom bleeds with the star's curse." Rowan muttered, "How can we fight what fell from the sky?" Malric smirked, replying, "Power is seized, not begged for." Aric's gaze lingered on the forest, his heart twisting with both dread and purpose. Among the crowd, Lysandra stepped forward silently, her hood shadowing her face, her presence both a warning and a promise. Aric pressed forward into the war chamber, maps scattered across the table, candles trembling in the draft. Eldrin traced lines of ancient script, explaining, "The star carries the blood of the ancients." Rowan leaned closer, his voice shaking, "Then you mean Aric is bound to it?" Aric's breath caught, his heart unwilling to accept such fate. Malric interjected slyly, "Fate is but an excuse for weakness. Strength will decide who commands the star." Eldrin slammed his hand down, his tone ironclad. "The curse consumes those who seek power without sacrifice." Tension burned in the chamber as storm winds battered the shutters. Aric clenched his fists, his destiny pressing tighter around him like a noose. The storm raged through the night as Aric stood alone in the starlit courtyard, rain soaking his tunic. His reflection shimmered in the puddles at his feet. Rowan approached carefully, saying, "You carry more than any man should." Aric's voice cracked, "What if I fail them all?" Rowan gripped his shoulder, firm but gentle. "Then I will stand and fall beside you." From the tower above, Eldrin watched in silence, his face burdened by secrets untold. In the shadows, Malric's eyes narrowed, whispers of ambition coiling in his thoughts. On the distant ridge, Lysandra turned from the cursed light, whispering a vow under her breath, "No fate shall bind me, not even his." Destiny stirred in every heart, the first chapter of their journey written in storm and fire. The morning after the fallen star, the kingdom stirred in uneasy silence. Aric sat at the edge of the courtyard, his eyes dark with sleeplessness. Rowan knelt beside him, saying, "You are not alone, even when you feel the weight crushing you." Aric whispered back, "I fear my blood binds me to ruin." Eldrin entered with a heavy tone, his voice solemn. "Bloodline cannot be denied, Aric, but choice remains yours." Malric, leaning against a column, smirked, "Fate is a leash, yet power cuts all chains." Aric turned sharply, his voice hard. "Power without honor destroys more than it saves." From a shadowed archway, Lysandra watched quietly, her heart torn between warning and trust. The cursed light still glowed faintly across the sky, a reminder of the danger drawing near. Aric marched through the forest path with Rowan close behind, the weight of silence thick between them. Rowan finally spoke. "You doubt yourself, but I've seen your strength in places you cannot." Aric's jaw tightened. "Strength is worthless if it destroys those I love." Eldrin, walking with staff in hand, interjected, "Strength tempered by mercy creates kings, not tyrants." Malric's cold laugh broke the moment. "Mercy is a fool's coin, and tyrants win kingdoms." Rowan snapped. "Better a fool than a monster." Aric halted, looking ahead to the cursed glow lingering through the trees. Lysandra appeared from the brush, her cloak wet with morning dew, her voice steady. "You will find no peace here, only choices that break hearts." By nightfall, the group camped beneath towering pines, firelight flickering against their faces. Rowan tried to keep spirits high, telling stories of old battles, but Aric remained silent, staring into the flames. Eldrin warned softly, "The curse feeds on despair. Let it not claim your heart." Aric muttered, "Every step feels heavier than the last." Lysandra, seated across the fire, lowered her hood, her voice steady. "You carry a burden I know too well." Rowan's eyes flicked to her in surprise. "What do you mean?" Malric leaned closer, his tone dripping with false warmth. "Some secrets are better left to shadows." The fire cracked as thunder rumbled in the distance, the storm never truly gone. The path narrowed as they crossed an ancient stone bridge, shrouded in fog. Aric paused, his voice strained. "Everywhere we walk feels cursed." Eldrin touched the stones, murmuring, "This bridge has carried centuries of sorrow and triumph. It will bear us too." Rowan tightened his grip on his sword, scanning the shadows. Malric's tone cut through the mist. "Legends say these stones drank the blood of kings. Perhaps they thirst still." Aric glared at him. "You find delight in horror." Lysandra, her gaze fixed on the fog below, whispered, "Horror reminds us how easily we fall." The sound of rushing water thundered beneath, each step echoing fate's heavy weight. That night they reached the ruins of an abandoned village, its houses broken, the air thick with smoke and silence. Aric walked slowly through the remains, his heart sinking. Rowan whispered, "This is what awaits if we fail." Eldrin's voice was heavy. "The curse spreads faster than time can heal." Malric bent to pick up a shattered relic, saying coldly, "Perhaps this is mercy, for weakness breeds rot." Aric snapped, "Enough. These people lived, dreamed, and bled. They were not weakness." Lysandra stepped into a doorway, her eyes reflecting the faint cursed glow, her tone quiet yet sharp. "And if you falter, their fate becomes ours." The wind howled through empty homes, carrying ghosts of the lost. The curse spread deeper across the land, black veins twisting through the soil. Aric stood at the village edge, his fists clenched in fury. Rowan whispered, "The ground itself is sick." Eldrin lifted his staff, muttering, "The curse grows stronger with each passing hour." Malric smirked. "Then let us use its strength before it consumes us." Aric snapped, "We will not become monsters to fight one." Lysandra stepped forward, her eyes sharp with fear. "You cannot deny its reach. The kingdom is rotting beneath your feet." The villagers wailed as animals collapsed lifeless in the fields. The sky darkened unnaturally, thunder rolling even without storm clouds. A sense of dread pressed against every breath, heavy as iron chains. They pressed onward into the forest, where the air reeked of ash and rot. Rowan gagged, saying, "It feels like the trees themselves are dying." Eldrin nodded gravely. "The curse poisons even the roots of life." Malric's voice cut like steel. "Then burn it all and let new power rise." Aric turned, his voice low but sharp. "Your hunger for power blinds you." Rowan stepped between them, his sword half drawn. "Enough. We fight the curse, not each other." Lysandra's eyes scanned the shadows, whispering, "The curse listens when we quarrel. It feeds on division." A flock of crows burst from the trees, their cries echoing like warnings in the poisoned air. That evening, the group halted at a river, its waters blackened by the curse. Aric knelt, touching the surface, and recoiled as it burned his skin. Rowan shouted, "Don't touch it!" Eldrin frowned deeply. "The river carries poison now. The curse spreads far beyond our eyes." Malric laughed darkly. "Even water bends to its will. Why should men resist?" Aric clenched his jaw, "Because men still choose." Lysandra stared into the water, her voice trembling. "This curse knows us. It feels alive, watching." The reflection of the star shimmered on the rippling current, glowing like a malignant eye. The group felt its gaze, a chill crawling down their spines. Deep in the woods, a great shadow descended, and Seraphel appeared, wings shimmering faintly like crystal. Aric stepped back in awe, whispering, "What is this?" Eldrin bowed his head. "The Guardian has answered." Rowan muttered nervously, "Guardian or curse itself?" Seraphel's voice rang like thunder in silence. "Child of the fallen star, your path cuts between salvation and ruin." Malric sneered, cryptic riddles from another phantom. Lysandra whispered, "Listen, Aric. Its words carry truth." Eric's chest tightened as Seraphel's glowing eyes fixed on him. The Guardian's presence pressed into their souls, both terrifying and divine. The air vibrated with unspoken power, bending even the trees around them. As Seraphel vanished into mist, the forest grew colder. Aric whispered, "Why me?" Eldrin placed a hand on his shoulder, "Because your blood binds you to both curse and cure." Rowan said fiercely, "Then we stand with you no matter the cost." Malric scoffed, "Stand or fall, destiny devours all." Lysandra's eyes softened, her voice quiet. "You are not as alone as you think, Aric." For the first time, Aric allowed the weight of their loyalty to pierce through his doubt. Yet the curse pulsed stronger in his veins, a reminder that victory carried a price. The night air grew heavier, silence broken only by distant screams, echoing from the cursed horizon. The group reached an ancient ruin, its stones glowing faintly with starlight. Aric traced strange carvings with trembling fingers, whispering, "This symbol matches my family crest." Eldrin's eyes darkened. "The blood of the star flows in your line." Rowan gasped, "Then you were bound to this curse long before your birth." Malric's smirk sharpened. "Royal blood always hides corruption." Aric's anger flared. "Say another word, and you'll regret it." Lysandra placed a hand on his arm, her tone steady. "Truth is painful, but denying it won't free you." The cursed light pulsed through the ruins, as though the walls themselves remembered. The air thrummed with echoes of a history none fully understood. They gathered in the center of the ruins, where a shattered altar lay beneath the stars. Eldrin placed his palm on the stone, murmuring, "This is where the star first fell centuries ago." Eric's voice cracked. "Then my bloodline has carried its curse all this time." Rowan clenched his fist, saying fiercely, "Curses can be broken." Malric's voice dripped with disdain or embraced, "To wield power unmatched." Aric glared, "Your words poison every hope we have." Lysandra's eyes lingered on Aric, her voice soft. "You fear yourself more than the curse, but you are not only its shadow." The ruins groaned as if alive, dust falling as cursed light pulsed brighter. As the night deepened, Aric staggered back, clutching his chest as the cursed light flared within him. Rowan shouted, "What's happening to him?" Eldrin raised his staff, voice sharp. "The star's power awakens in his veins." Aric gasped, "It burns. It feels alive." Malric leaned closer, his voice a whisper, "Yield to it, and none will stand above you." Rowan drew his sword, shouting, "Stay away from him." Lysandra moved between them, her voice firm, "Do not tempt him further." Aric's body trembled as light pulsed through his skin, casting wild shadows. The ruins echoed with the sound of ancient whispers, as though the stones themselves called his name. When the light subsided, Aric collapsed to his knees, breathing ragged. Eldrin whispered, "The curse grows stronger. Soon you must decide its fate." Aric's voice was broken. "I never asked for this blood or this burden." Rowan crouched beside him, saying firmly, "But you are more than this curse. You are my brother in arms." Malric sneered. Brothers in arms die the same when destiny crushes them. Aric glared at him but lacked the strength to respond. Lysandra knelt, lifting Aric's chin with her hand, her voice soft. You are not alone, Aric. Remember that. The ruins groaned again, as if warning them all that choices were running out. The ruins shook violently as thunder cracked across the sky. Eldrin shouted, "The star's heart awakens beneath us." Aric staggered, his voice trembling. "It calls to me, but it feels like a trap." Rowan gripped his shoulder, saying fiercely, "We'll face it together, no matter the cost." Malric's eyes gleamed, his voice rising. "Embrace it, Aric. Claim the throne that destiny denies you." Aric turned sharply, voice filled with fire. "I seek no throne. I seek freedom from this curse." Lysandra drew closer, whispering, "Your choice will decide whether we live in light or drown in shadow." The ruins split open, revealing a pulsing core of cursed light beneath their feet. The group entered a burned village, where smoke still curled from blackened timbers. Aric's chest tightened as he whispered, "Darius has struck here." Rowan's fists shook. "He destroys what little remains." Eldrin's voice trembled with sorrow. The curse spreads through his hand. Malric's lips curved in a sly grin. "Perhaps he seeks to cleanse weakness." Aric glared at him sharply. "Call this cleansing again, and you'll taste my blade." Lysandra knelt beside a broken toy in the ashes, her voice soft. These were lives, not pawns. The cries of distant survivors echoed faintly, carried by the wind. The kingdom's heart was bleeding, and the enemy's reach was growing darker with every moment. As night fell, the group took refuge in a crumbling barn. The air smelled of ash and damp straw. Aric leaned against a wall, exhausted. "Every village we reach is worse than the last." Rowan sat near him, voice firm, "But they still look to you, and that means hope remains." Eldrin stirred the fading fire, muttering, "Hope is fragile when darkness feeds on despair." Malric chuckled darkly. "Hope is the lie kings tell their people before they burn." Aric's anger flared. "You speak like one who welcomes their suffering." Lysandra cut in, her gaze sharp, or one who hides behind cruelty to mask his fear. The barn creaked with the weight of unspoken truths. At dawn, Aric walked alone into the ruins, his thoughts heavy. Rowan followed, saying softly, "You're breaking under the weight, but you don't have to carry it alone." Aric's voice cracked. "If I fall, the kingdom falls with me." Rowan grabbed his arm, firm but desperate. "Then let me share the burden." "I won't let you drown in it." Eldrin approached slowly, his eyes heavy with grief. "The bond you share may be what keeps you both alive." Malric appeared from behind a collapsed wall, smirking. "Bond or no bond, destiny swallows all in time." Aric pulled away, his fists shaking. The ruins seemed to whisper around them, as though listening to his doubts. As they prepared to leave, Malric stepped into the path, his sword gleaming faintly. Aric froze, his voice low. "What are you doing?" Malric's grin widened at last. "No more pretenses. I've guided you here for the star's power, and I will claim it." Rowan drew his blade instantly, shouting, "You traitor!" Eldrin's voice shook with both fury and grief. "I warned of shadows within us." Lysandra moved swiftly, her cloak swirling. "Step aside, Malric, or face me." Aric's eyes burned with betrayal. "I trusted you." Malric raised his weapon higher, sneering, "And that was your greatest mistake." The air crackled with tension, the curse pulsing brighter around them. Steel clashed as Rowan lunged at Malric, sparks flying in the cursed forest light. Aric shouted, "Stop! This is not our fight!" Rowan's breath was ragged. "It is when betrayal cuts this deep." Eldrin raised his staff, voice commanding, "Enough! We will destroy ourselves before the curse has its chance." Malric snarled, "Only I am strong enough to wield its heart." Lysandra swung her blade to block his strike, her voice fierce. "Strength without loyalty is nothing." Aric's hands shook as he stepped forward, his voice breaking. "I won't lose more to treachery." The clash ended with Malric retreating into the shadows, his mocking laughter trailing behind. Storm clouds gathered over the blackened hills, as the group marched toward Darius' fortress. Aric's voice was low. "This ends tonight." Rowan walked beside him, sword ready. "Then we face it together." Eldrin's staff glowed faintly, his tone grim. "The star's heart will be tested in blood." Lysandra pulled her cloak tighter, whispering, "Every step brings us closer to death or freedom." Aric's eyes burned with determination, though doubt gnawed at his heart. On the horizon, lightning struck the fortress walls, and the cursed glow pulsed stronger than ever. The earth trembled, as though even the land feared the battle about to unfold. Shadows stretched long, swallowing hope in their wake. They entered the cursed courtyard, where black fire burned in braziers. Darius stood upon the steps, cloaked in shadow, his crown cracked and twisted. His voice thundered at last, "The blood of the star comes before me." Aric raised his blade. "This curse ends with me." Rowan growled, "You'll pay for every village you burned." Eldrin struck the ground with his staff, chanting, "The balance must be restored." Darius laughed bitterly. "Balance? You speak of balance while my kingdom rotted in silence." Lysandra's voice cut sharp, "You chose ruin over redemption." The cursed light coiled around Darius like a serpent, his power pulsing with rage and grief. The ground shook as Darius unleashed a wave of cursed energy. Rowan shielded Aric, shouting, "Stay standing." Aric staggered, flames crackling around him. "He's too strong." Eldrin cried out, "Do not yield. The curse within you can fight his." Darius sneered, "You are a child drowning in your own bloodline." Lysandra sprinted forward, blades flashing, shouting, "Then he will not fight alone." She struck against Darius, sparks flying as steel met cursed power. Aric's veins glowed with starlight, his body trembling under the strain. Rowan gritted his teeth, standing ready to die at Aric's side. The courtyard roared with the clash of destiny and ruin. Darius caught Lysandra's strike and hurled her aside, her body crashing against stone. Aric screamed, "No!" Rowan rushed to her side, shouting, "She breathes. Fight on!" Eldrin's staff flared, beams of light striking Darius, who staggered but laughed through blood. "You cannot kill what the star made eternal." Aric's voice cracked. "If it cursed you, then I will end it." Darius' eyes blazed. "End it? You carry the same damnation." Malric appeared from the shadows, smirking, "And I will take it when you fall." Rowan snarled, "Traitor!" Chaos burned around them, every strike shaking stone, every cry tearing at the fragile threads of hope. The fortress shook as the curse spiraled higher, tearing stone from the walls. Aric's body glowed with blinding light, his voice echoing, "I will not be your prisoner, Darius." Darius bellowed, "Then you will be my heir in ruin." Rowan screamed, "Aric, hold on!" Eldrin cried, "Control the light or it will consume you." Lysandra, her voice weak but fierce, whispered, "You are stronger than your curse." Aric lifted his sword high, starlight exploding from the blade. Darius roared, striking with his cursed crown blazing, the collision shaking the heavens themselves. For a heartbeat, all was fire and thunder, as fate itself held its breath. Silence fell after the clash, the fortress in ruins, stone crumbling into dust. Aric stood in the rubble, his sword dimming as the cursed light faded from his veins. Rowan staggered to him, gasping, "You're alive, thank the stars." Aric's voice was raw, alive, but broken. Eldrin approached slowly, staff trembling. "The curse is severed, but its scars remain upon you." Lysandra, bruised yet standing, whispered, "You chose mercy over ruin, and that is why we still breathe." The air smelled of ash and blood, yet the storm began to part, revealing faint starlight above. Aric lowered his sword, his heart heavy with both victory and loss. The survivors emerged from hiding, faces pale and weary. A child clutched Rowan's cloak, whispering, "Is it over?" Rowan knelt, forcing a smile. "The curse is broken, little one." Aric watched, his heart aching with the weight of lives saved and lost. Eldrin lifted his eyes skyward, muttering, "Balance returns, but not without sacrifice." Lysandra stood apart, her gaze distant. Victory never erases the shadows it leaves behind. The people bowed to Aric, but he turned away, his voice hollow. Do not bow to me. Bow to those who fell. The air hung thick with grief and fragile hope as dawn spread across the wounded land. As the group tended to the wounded, Rowan said quietly, "You gave them back their future." Aric shook his head, voice low. "I gave them freedom at the cost of my own peace." Eldrin's eyes softened. Every savior bears scars unseen. Lysandra approached slowly, her tone gentle. "Your strength was not in power, Aric, but in choosing not to become what you fear." Aric's gaze met hers, torn between longing and sorrow. Rowan broke the silence. "Then let us heal what we can, even if we carry the scars." The faint song of birds rose in the distance, fragile yet unbroken, like the dawn of a new chapter. Later, they buried the fallen in shallow graves beneath the fortress walls. Aric lowered his blade into the earth, saying, "Let this sword rest for those who cannot rise again." Rowan bowed his head, murmuring, "We will carry their memory into every step forward." Eldrin's voice trembled. "The kingdom rebuilds not with stones, but with remembrance." Lysandra placed a flower atop the graves, whispering, "Even in ruin, life dares to return." The starlight above flickered faintly, as though watching. Aric's eyes lingered on the sky, heavy with unspoken grief. The silence was sacred, each breath carrying the weight of sacrifice and survival. As the night returned, Aric stood alone on the castle wall, staring into the endless sky. Rowan's voice echoed faintly from below. "We live because of you." Aric whispered to himself, "But at what cost?" Eldrin's words carried in memory. "Scars remind us we endured." Lysandra's face lingered in his mind, her vow burning in his chest. The fallen star's light flickered faintly in the heavens, neither curse nor blessing, but a reminder of what was lost and won. Aric's hand tightened on the stone rail, his heart heavy with sorrow and resolve. He whispered softly, "The stars may fall again, but I will rise to meet them." Darkness swallowed his silhouette as the screen faded to black.